Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. For their details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.org.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Courtney Hughes.
And this is It's Movie Time. All right, Courtney Hughes. You're here from D.C. You're visiting.
Yes, I am.
And besides the fact that you are an expert in contests such as Miss USA and so on as a consultant, that means that you have a very good ear for entertainment. And so you're here, and I have to admit, you are my eldest daughter.
True that.
Okay, that's a liability, but we're going to leave that right out there. But the film today is The Finest Hours, starring Casey Affleck, Chris Pine,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And one of the reasons that you're here is that I think you have a connection to this film.
I absolutely do. Through a friend, I was able to interview Casey Sherman, the co-author of The Finest Hours.
Yeah. And tell me now, so this is a story of 1952 rescue by 4 young Coast Guardsmen. An oil tanker had split up. I think it was named the Pendleton.
Yes.
And they had to go out in Cape Cod at night.
At night in the middle of the storm. It is the greatest small boat rescue in the history of the Coast Guard.
Oh my gosh. And as it is depicted on the film and in Sherman's book, it's harrowing is just the exact word for this.
It is.
And now, when you talked to Casey Sherman, the co-author, did he give you any insights or any of his observations yet? The film hadn't come out at the time that you talked to him.
He had seen the premiere. The premiere had been the
Okay.
night before. And he did feel that they were true to the book. They kept, it is a straightforward story.
Yes.
You go out, you get them, you bring them out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's no duplicity there. But he did feel that I was questioning about the CGI and the effects.
Yes, right.
He did think that they had done a very good job, and I agree.
All right, yeah. And I have some reservations about it only because it's so obvious the difference between the set on which they're depicting the romance, all the stuff that's going on shore,
Right.
and then when they get into it, and they had a huge tank, among other things, so that this poor little 36-foot boat, the rescue boat, was getting tossed and turned around. And sometimes I thought it was just not the high-quality CGI that they might have had. For instance, there are some times when they're in the boathouse where you could see the background going by as if it were a 1930s film. They were driving along in a car.
I noticed a couple of times when you were seeing Chris Pine through the glass as he's driving the boat. That did seem a little throwback.
It did. And I wonder if they didn't do that on purpose to kind of give us a nostalgic feel.
I think that what Casey Sherman said was this is a nostalgic story.
Okay.
He really appreciated the fact that we could highlight true heroes, not the Avenger superstars of crazy, superhuman powers, but this is my job, I'm going to get it done, no questions asked.
And I think that's a great observation. It's certainly mine when I watched the film. I said, here's Chris Pine, god-awful handsome guy.
Darn it, if he is not good looking. Oh.
Who has been the captain of the Starship Enterprise.
Right.
And swashbuckling around the universe. And here he is, almost the antithesis of that.
Very quiet, stoic, the true New Englander.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes down.
Right, always the eyes down.
I know, and
Yes.
so not at all the superhero you might have expected, which I find very good. Now, the chief engineer, so this boat splits in half. They lose the captain and some of the senior officers in the front. It's gone down.
What a shot that is when he is running out to tell the captain that they're in distress, and he realizes that half the boat is gone.
Right.
That's quite a shot.
Right, that is excellent. I'll tell you the other good shot, when they're tracking through that back portion as they yell down the orders.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
I love that part.
Yeah.
Where it's the relay of the information.
Yes.
And I kept thinking, oh, one of them's going to mess it up.
Yes.
Because you've got to say 80 degrees this way, that way. I was, oh gosh, everyone remember it properly.
Yeah, and there's a great sense of drama in that. It's dramatic in itself. Plus the fact that we know that this is true, even though they've massaged a bit. Now, Court, what about the romance?
I thought the romance was it was a little on the cheesy side, but I did appreciate it as just a really solid when they're dancing together.
Yes.
You know, I liked that she asked him to marry him.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, she was such a forward-thinking woman, it seemed to me.
Right. Of course, if we go back to the book, we know that they were already married.
Right.
So Hollywood has to.
Disney didn't care about
No,
that part of the
it
story. We needed the reason for him to come back.
Yes. Oh, I mean, they are setting up our emotional connection with this whole. I will tell you, I think it's the first hour practically where we had to go through their romance. Oh my God.
It is a bit long, but anytime I could stare at Chris Pine, I was fine with it.
And you know, Holiday Granger, who plays the lady, has a real old-fashioned look to her, 1950s look.
Absolutely, she does. That porcelain skin,
Yeah.
that tiny little figure,
Little, like some of our relatives, little
little
bulbous.
chubby face.
Right. And the thing that I liked about her, the very thing I liked about our heroes in this film, she's gutsy.
She is gutsy, marching right into to Eric Bana and saying, "You send my husband, well, at the time fiance, back in."
Right.
You know, I liked that
And
part.
Court, you know, a few of the accents are a bit overdone.
Okay.
The New England.
I think there was too many times where they had to say the word bar.
I know it right there.
Versions of the ba. You gotta go the ba.
The sandbar.
The sandbar.
I thought Eric Bana's southern accent.
I thought that was a little distracting. I couldn't figure out where he was going with that. Was it Texan? Was it Mississippian? I couldn't pin it down.
One of the things I liked the fact that Casey Affleck, who really is from Boston,
Yes.
underplayed.
Actually underplayed it.
Yes.
That was interesting. I was expecting him to be full blown with it.
Yes,
but no,
right.
he was tactful, I thought.
He was the senior engineer, the chief engineer, and is forced to take over on that part of the boat that's split off. And in the same case as Pine's character, they're both somewhat reluctant heroes, which I find at this time, in fact, we're facing in a couple of months all these superhero movies, I find now really enjoyable.
I agree with you. And I thought Casey Affleck was, you know, you could see what was going on back in his mind, but he wasn't necessarily speaking out loud.
No, he's not a good
He
communicator.
wasn't a good communicator with the crew.
Right.
But he was the true leader at the end.
That's right, he was. So, at this time of year, Court, I mean, this is what I call the dead zone of this. Do you think this thing can have legs?
I think it's an old-fashioned family film. You can bring all the kids to it. They can be motivated by the fact that these were real men in real circumstances.
Yes.
That went beyond the call of duty. You know, Chris Pine's character could have turned around and said, "We tried to get out, we couldn't."
Yes.
And he went forward with what was just such an incredibly dangerous mission.
Yeah, yeah. And so, if you can discount my comments about the special effects, because they're so difficult to pull off, and when you have only, say, 40 million rather than 100 million in your film, it's not going to be perfect. But if you take, and I think you mentioned some of the scenes like...
There was a couple scenes where the boat was going through, the little boat of Chris Pine's boat, Bernie Weber, was going through the wave. When you're coming outside the other, and it's an open boat, you would think they would be completely drenched with the water, and they were wet, but you could definitely tell in those scenes that I just kept thinking, how does a boat go through a wave?
Yes.
I wanted more water at the end of that kind of it.
So you were hoping for a little better continuity.
A little bit better continuity. But to me, it was all terrifying with the waves coming, that the one, seaman who was in the front of the boat in the little round, where he's just stuck looking right at the waves.
I thought he was a goner.
I thought he was going to pop right out.
Now these heroes, and they were young men, and they did not have to do this, but they did, and they did it with great vigor and great courage, saved 32 of the 33 sailors on that split boat. And 32 out of 33.
Yeah, that is an amazing fact. But the reason why Bernie Weber, the hero of the story, didn't speak of it in his almost his entire life was because they lost the one man.
Yes.
It was to him a failure, actually.
Yes. And actually better than the romance that they depict is the fact that he has a backstory of where he had failed in one of these missions, and I think lost some locals.
Right, 7 people, I believe, perished.
Yeah, right. And so he still held himself accountable, and that provided enough of attention. I mean, after all, what more do you want?
That
For
was
me.
enough for me.
That's
Yeah.
enough. I don't need to
Yeah.
see all this,
I
this
didn't need
on-land stuff.
Yeah, I didn't need the on-land stuff.
Yeah. All right, Courtney Hughes. The film is The Finest Hours. It stars Chris Pine and Casey Affleck, and as a matter of fact, it's a movie that you can see at this time of year in good conscience. But we have to apply a grade, Courtney, and I'm going to ask you to go first. What grade would you award The Finest Hours?
I would give it a B+.
All right, very good. And I'm going to give it a B. And I don't think we're going back to see it again.
I don't think I will, but I will definitely recommend it.